I have a new petition started against the United Nations World Health Organization, or WHO for short, for their latest attack on boys, which is that they're calling for countries to suspend vaccination of boys against the human papillomavirus, or HPV, until all girls can get it first. If you feel enraged and unjust at this like I do, please sign this petition and spread the word. The link is in the description. We need to start raising a voice against the World Health Organization because this isn't the first time the org have been jerking the male sex around. Before this, the World Health Organization have been promoting male genital mutilation throughout the third world as a quack preventative against HIV and numerous other diseases, including HPV, but violating the rights of men and boys. So, as you can see on the WHO's own website, the World Health Organization speaks of compelling evidence that butchering men reduces the risk of heterosexually acquired HIV infection in men by approximately 60%. Of course, they use the 60% figure of the debunked randomized control trials in Africa. I mean, it's not like they stopped those trials early to minimize the period their circumcised pool of men were able to have sex and therefore risk STDs. These circumcised men had to wait 8 weeks for their mutilation scars to close while the tests were going on. So that's why the trials are stopped early, to get the favorable, compelling result. So we see the World Health Organization here pushing this idea of preventing STDs onto men, while denying men real sanitary treatment to prevent STDs. Yeah, the real intention here is to just abuse males as hard as possible by violating their human rights and then violate them again. This isn't very humanitarian of the World Health Organization, now is it? Gross hypocrisy, contempt for the male sex, and a lack of ethics. All these traits we associate with as being the opposite of humanitarian, and the World Health Organization is displaying all of these. So we need to send a clear message to the World Health Organization that none of this is okay. Now, as it reads from the BMJ article in this story, submitted on the beginning of December, WHO calls for countries to suspend vaccination of boys. The World Health Organization is calling on countries that are vaccinating boys against the human papillomavirus, or HPV, to suspend these programs until all girls who need the vaccine can get it. This is an outrageous, disgusting violation of the rights of boys, and one that is not befitting of an organization promoting world health. That the World Health Organization must be pressured to back down from this call and apologize for it. Next paragraph. That the recommendations from WHO's Strategic Advisory Group of Experts on Immunization, known as SAGE, come just months after the UK began immunizing boys aged 12 to 13 against the virus. But boys are getting treated like humans. We have to intercept this. Sound the sirens. Now, the article mainly stresses concern against cervical cancer in women and a HPV vaccination shortage to justify this recommendation, as it continues on. SAGE was deeply concerned that the current HPV vaccination shortage could result in a failure to introduce or sustain programs in some countries, particularly those with a high burden of cervical cancer, the group said in WHO's weekly epidemiological record of 22 November. This is despite the fact that oropharyngeal cancer is the most dominant cancer associated with HPV, which mostly affects men. As the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website displays, with its statistics on HPV-associated cancers by site, gender and race, oropharyngeal cancers outnumber cervical cancers by half the times more, with men being 4 times as likely to risk having it than women. Overall, women make up 56.5% of the total HPV-associated cancer cases. Now, 56.5% is not a clause to restrict 100% of the available vaccines to girls first. If the World Health Organization wanted to be truly rational about this, they would recommend the number 56.5% of the vaccines go to girls, not all of them. So this is purely and simply discrimination against boys from the World Health Organization, asserting that girls are extra human and extra deserving. That the World Health Organization must feel the clear message that boys are equally human to girls and deserve equal priority in our immunization programs, as well as all of our medical programs. So please, sign this petition, share it, link is in the description, but once again, do whatever you can to make it grow. As I speak, it has surpassed 100% signatures and is on its way to 200. And another thing too, one of my signers has linked this blog post full of resources and examples of the discrimination against males in the context of humanitarian agencies and causes. Resources like 9 out of 10 people pictured in charity posters are women. It is a good blog post, worth checking out. I'll also link it in the description here. It'll really open your eyes to the scale these humanitarian causes go to prioritize females at the expense of males. Humanitarian bodies behave very disgustingly towards males and are something we will need to tackle against. So let's make this petition grow as big as we can. That the World Health Organization must apologize for their sexist recommendation and take it down, and be made sure to never recommend anything sexist like this again. Thank you.